You will fail if you choose the wrong asset to trade. Whether it's Forex, futures, equities, or crypto, I've traded all of these markets, and some of them enabled me to make over $100 million in verified trading profits. I'm Lance, and after spending over 15 years grinding, I'm done sacrificing my health for wealth, so I'm here to share with you my world-class knowledge and show you the reality of trading, including why some traders are doomed before they start. The other day, someone asked me,
"Hey Lance, why don't you have any videos on Forex?"
My harsh but true answer was, because Forex sucks. That wasn't me trying to be funny, that was the most honest answer I could give. But if I'm going to say that on the internet, I owe you the real explanation. So today I'm comparing equities versus crypto versus futures versus Forex, and I'm gonna judge them on 6 factors. How many opportunities exist, how good those opportunities are based on expected value, the liquidity, which is how scalable the market is, fees, broker safety, and then the quality of competition you're trading against. A lot of my argument really isn't all that subjective. It's based on an academic concept called market efficiency. Now let's define market efficiency properly because everything flows from that. The classic finance definition is basically this: a market is efficient if prices fully reflect all available information. If so, excess market returns cannot be made. In other words, no amount of technical analysis or fundamental analysis, or really any analysis, allows you to beat the market. As a general framework, the bigger the market, the more globally followed it is, the more accessible it is, the more sophisticated the players are, and the more stable the environment, the more efficient the market tends to be. And when a market is extremely efficient, you can still trade it, but the bar to make money is far higher. The edge is smaller. And the more you trade, the harder it is to make money over the long term. So now let's run the scoreboard and start with the worst of the 4 asset classes, Forex. Number of opportunities? On paper, it's always moving. It's 24 hours, 5 days a week. But most of that movement is total noise and unpredictable chop. The currency markets don't move much. And before all the Forex bros say that the lack of movement isn't a big deal because Forex markets provide easy leverage, you need to understand that leverage does not make up for that. Leverage does not create edge. It just scales whatever edge you already have. In an efficient market, your edge is basically zero after cost, meaning your expected value is about zero before fees and usually negative after fees. So if your expectancy is negative, leverage just makes you lose faster. I know that sounds wonky and the Forex bros don't want to hear it, but if you don't want to believe me, ask ChatGPT to explain it to you, because I'm done arguing this leverage point with anons. Leverage does not increase your expected value. It just allows you to increase the bet size. Now, for liquidity and scalability, in Forex, it's massive. Forex is the largest market in the world, estimated at about $9.6 trillion per day in trading volume. That sounds like a dream until you realize what it implies. The competition is unreal. As far as this quality of competition, it's the killer. Forex is dominated by banks, dealers, macro funds, and systematic players. You aren't trading against someone who thinks their stock went 10x on a reverse stock split. In Forex, if you aren't a pro, you're easy exit liquidity. And because it's so big, so global, and so stable relative to other asset classes, the news flow is extremely efficient as well. Macro data is scheduled, widely disseminated, and instantly processed by institutions who live and breathe this stuff. That's what market efficiency looks like. The market adapts fast thanks to sophisticated players. Leverage. Like I mentioned, the leverage allowed here is incredibly high. If you have edge in Forex, and that's a big if, that's amazing because you really can scale your bets massively given the leverage and liquidity. Fees? Forex fees tend to be very cheap in that regard. Now, broker safety. This is mixed. In top-tier jurisdictions, there's regulation and risk disclosure, but globally, retail Forex is also where people wander into the Wild West. So Forex ends up being extremely scalable, but extremely efficient with extremely high quality competition. That is a bad combo for most discretionary traders. That's what I mean when I say it sucks. The quality of opportunities for the retail trader are not great. It's not that they do not exist, they're just more limited. Now let's do futures. Number of opportunities. Definitely better than Forex, especially in the sense that with futures, you can trade different products. You can trade indices, rates, energy, metals, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and even Forex itself. So there are way more themes to work with. Additionally, many of these markets are extremely volatile and many move a ton of percents on all sorts of headlines. Many people think that I hate futures. That view is not really nuanced enough. The quality of opportunities in futures can be fantastic. Have you seen the moves gold has been making this year? Or seen how volatile oil and nat gas have been over the last few years? Without a doubt, every year I inevitably end up trading futures and generally do pretty well trading them. In fact, the biggest trade of my career, where I ended up making over $10 million in a single trade, took place in the futures market when I bought the Japanese Nikkei futures on the August 5th, 2024 panic. You can hear more about that trade in this video. My bigger issue that people mess up is really with the traders who just trade one product like the E-mini or gold every day. Most markets are fairly efficient most of the time. You need to always move to where the action is. The futures market at least has enough variety where you should be able to find something interesting. So compared to Forex, I do find futures to be far more opportunistic. Liquidity. The liquidity in futures can be absolutely incredible. Obviously, if you're trading contracts that are linked to Forex or metals or the S&P 500, you can build up some incredibly large positions. Leverage. The leverage here is meaningful. Futures are inherently leveraged via margin, so here you can get some big bang for your buck, especially depending on the contract. Fees for futures tend to be pretty reasonable. Overall, you can expect tight spreads and low commissions. Broker safety, very safe and highly regulated to protect the consumer. Competition quality, still very high. A lot of futures trading is dominated by sophisticated participants and automation. You can find edges, but you're not picking on scared humans the same way you can in some of the more inefficient and less accessible markets. So futures comes in third. Tradable, scalable, structurally cleaner than a lot of retail Forex experiences, but still pretty efficient and pretty competitive. Now, crypto. Crypto, in my opinion, is the second best product to trade because it's the least efficient in the ways that actually matter for traders. Number of opportunities, huge. New listings, new narratives, meme cycles, squeezes, liquidations, arbitrage opportunities, and more. The quality of these opportunities can be absolutely incredible. On October 10th, 2025, due to all the leverage in the system, a sell-off gained steam and created massive flash crashes across crypto markets. This was the largest crypto liquidation of all time, and certain coins were briefly trading at discounts as high as 50% or more from their equilibrium levels. If you had capital and weren't trading on leverage, some of those opportunities are some of the highest expected value you'll ever encounter. That's the type of opportunity you will never ever see in markets like Forex. Another example, Trump coin. Whatever your politics are, as a trading case study, it's perfect. Trump's team ends up releasing a coin that isn't initially listed in too many places, and traders that had the right accessibility and were quick on their feet were able to make millions of dollars, even tens of millions. Same for when Melania issued her coin. That is a crypto edge in one sentence. The news flow is less efficient, the participant base is more reflexive, and price can travel farther than it should because should isn't part of the equation with cryptocurrencies. News flow efficiency, low compared to traditional markets. Information is fragmented across different news sources, and that is an advantage if you know how to filter signal from noise. Accessibility, it's accessible, but it's also operationally harder. Wallets, custody decisions, exchange risk, and more. Even the SEC has emphasized how many investors don't understand custody realities, or that crypto holdings generally aren't covered by FDIC or SIPC protections. Quality of competition, less sophisticated on average than traditional markets. I mean, come on, we have a bunch of people out there trading fartcoin. There are some traditional trading firms in crypto, like Jump Trading, but much of Wall Street still stays far away from some of the Wild West that comes with the territory in crypto world. And there's research backing the broader idea that crypto market efficiency is time varying and sensitive to things like regulation and liquidity. So it's not uniformly tight the way FX tends to be. Liquidity and scalability. Well, it really depends here. The top coins are liquid, but many small coins are not. Liquidity profiles vary dramatically across venues and assets. As for the fees, again, depends on the venue. Sometimes cheap, sometimes brutal. And spreads can be wide in the names that tempt people the most. Leverage.
Sadly, in crypto world, you get a dangerous amount of leverage.
There are traders that will trade on 100x leverage or more, which is a VIP pass to the trader graveyard. Crypto is second best because it's a target-rich environment for opportunity, but it comes with extra risks. Venue risk, regulatory risk, operational risk, and brutal volatility sometimes. Now on to equities, which obviously hold a special place in my heart. Equities are number one because they're the best blend of opportunity count, opportunity quality, scalability, and accessibility, while still being inefficient in the exact way traders can exploit it. Number of opportunities, enormous. There's thousands of names, constant sector rotation, and a never-ending calendar of catalysts, including earnings, guidance, analyst changes, product news, lawsuits, M&A, you name it. As for the quality of opportunities, this is the big one. Stocks are at the intersection of where sentiment and emotion consistently create mispricings. That is not a motivational quote. There is deep literature on investor sentiment impacting stock returns, especially in stocks that are hard to value and hard to arbitrage. The beauty with equities is you can still trade currency ETFs or crypto ETFs, commodities, and more. Then you get incredible clean breakouts, you get mean reversion opportunities, small cap runners, IPOs, and more. Look at how crazy the Circle IPO was this year. Liquidity and scalability. While not as scalable as Forex or many futures, it's still far more than enough liquidity for most traders. 99% of traders will never run into scalability issues. Fees? In modern US equities, commissions went to effectively zero at many brokers, with the economic model shifting to things like payment for order flow. Broker safety? Best in class, especially relative to crypto and many retail Forex experiences. SIPC protection exists at member broker dealers up to $500,000, including a $250,000 cash limit. Leverage, more controlled. Margin exists, but it's not the 100x leverage and pray. Competition quality. Yes, equities have a lot of big players involved, but here's the catch. Single name equities are still packed with emotional decision making around company specific news. Humans panic, humans chase, and other market structure nuances can result in amazing opportunities, like those caused by index rebalances, short squeezes, and liquidations. That behavior creates tradable opportunity. The amazing part is that my beliefs also tend to reflect the empirical data I've seen while working with trading firms and traders from across the spectrum. Equities provide the best mix of opportunity count, opportunity quality, scalability, reasonable leverage, a favorable fee landscape, and stronger broker protections, not to mention a competition set that still contains plenty of exploitable human emotion. Most traders I work with focus on equities, some do crypto, a few do futures, but almost no traders I work with are Forex traders. The overwhelming majority of traders just cannot find edge there. The beauty is it also doesn't need to be one or the other with these assets. Like I said, I trade all of these, but I sure as hell wouldn't want to be starting my career in Forex or only trading the E-minis. Now let me be extremely clear. This video absolutely does not mean you cannot make money in any of these markets. I know traders that do well over a long time frame across all of these, but it is truly my belief and the belief based on all the data I've seen that it is far harder to make money in the more efficient markets. That means all the funded traders starting in Forex are stacking the odds incredibly against themselves. Same to a lesser degree for all the funded traders who are starting in futures and only trade the A-minis or the NASDAQ. By academic definition, we want to be trading the most inefficient markets possible, especially if liquidity is not a constraint. Now, as a bonus, in recent time, prediction markets like Kalshi and Polymarket have exploded onto the scene. The same framework I use to judge the other markets, you can also use to think about prediction markets. I have mixed feelings on these from an ethical perspective, but inevitably, these will lead to some really cool trading opportunities for participants. Choosing which market you learn on is essential. It is the difference between climbing a challenging mountain versus summiting Everest. Do not make this decision haphazardly. Thank you for watching. Hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next one.